Well, ladies and gentlemen, as the situation surrounding Greenland continues to develop, we've got Donald Trump now saying that he believes the United States will get Greenland. And this phone call with Danish officials just totally off the rails. The Danes screaming at the top of their lungs while they're on the phone with Trump because they're just so angry. Denmark is keeping Greenland hostage right now. It's disgusting. This is not what we want in 2025. We want countries to be able to rule themselves. And with Greenland, they understand they need the United States help, but they want to be independent. But Denmark doesn't want to give up Greenland. So there might have to be some economic pressure on Denmark to allow Greenland to be independent. Let's get a referendum. Let's get a vote. Let's get Greenland independent from Denmark, because we know the public opinion polls that have been out there, it's like 70-30. And then the United States either reaches an economic agreement with Greenland, which would be super favorable, or it's an outright territorial expansion for the U.S. to where they acquire Greenland. Greenland is still able to do the same things they're doing right now in terms of ruling themselves independently, but the United States would certainly have a significant presence either way, whether we go into an economic relationship with Greenland or we acquire Greenland outright. The U.S. is going to want to have a lot of say in what happens to Greenland, and we've got experts saying natural resources in Greenland, the rare earths, it's crazy. Right now, China has a monopoly over them. That's going to end. The Chinese, a lot of the countries, the East is very, very concerned about the United States acquiring Greenland, but it's going to happen because it makes sense for everyone involved, and Trump understands it. And really the only thing standing in Trump's way would be potentially international law, which can be, I mean, you look at international law. If Greenland wants to be independent, they should be allowed to be independent, but Denmark's going to cite that and say, no, they're a part of us. It's how it's always been. Even though they got taken over by Nazi Germany in World War II, and the United States basically controlled Greenland during that period. But that's why we were able to set up that military base in Greenland. That's why we have a military base in Greenland. But they're going to try and claim historical ties to Greenland, and they control the territory, even though in 2009 they gave Greenland the right to really govern themselves outside of having their own military. This is something that Trump's going to have to do, to where there might have to be pressure that's put on Denmark. And this is really, we're starting to see the tea leaves kind of shift here. We've got Donald Trump in a fiery call with Denmark's prime minister over Greenland. Here's why Trump's pursuit of Greenland is really about control over the Arctic. Well, yeah, that is correct, but it's also the natural resources, and Trump is dressing this up as like, and he is right to do this because it looks better, rather than, oh, we just want all the natural resources in Greenland. They're going to say, oh, it's imperialism or whatever. Well, no, the population is 57,000. There's a lot of untapped things there. We're the number one power in the world, number one power in the West. We need to get those resources because we can actually mine them. We have the infrastructure to do it, and the investment to actually be able to extract a lot of those, especially along the coasts. Inside of Greenland, it's a glacier. It's a lot harder to do it, but it is about control over the Arctic. That's why I think Trump probably wants the northern territories in Canada as well, but it is becoming more and more important, and that's really what Trump should push, because it looks better than, oh, we're going to take all your resources. And I think we would work out a deal with Greenland, by the way, to where they would get some ownership of the resources, not a ton. It would be like 95% or something like that split in terms of who gets the natural resources, because it's going to cost major investment from the United States to even extract the natural resources in the first place. So we're going to be the ones footing the bill, and also giving a lot of the people of Greenland potentially higher paying jobs for it anyway. So right now, if you are Greenland, if you are the Greenlanders, if you are those people, you're going to want either independence and a separate relationship with the United States, or the United States to take over. If you're talking about the two different options being Denmark ruling you or the United States ruling you, you'll take the United States 100 times out of 100. The only way I could see the people of Greenland saying no is if they've really bought into that European propaganda that Trump's this big, horrible person, when in reality, there's a lot of people on the left that actually want to buy Greenland as well. It's not just, and you look at the dynamics of this. This is not a situation where Trump's this big, bad, evil villain who's trying to just take Greenland from Denmark and destroy all the history in Greenland. They love being a part of Denmark. That's not it at all. Greenland does not want to be a part of Denmark. They've had this independence movement for a while now. It's just really on steroids now because Trump has been so clear about purchasing Greenland, and ideally Greenland would be able to become independent from Denmark, and then the United States negotiates with Greenland. However, if Denmark cites international law and says we're not giving them up, the United States is probably going to have to pressure Denmark or give Denmark something, which could happen, which honestly would make Denmark look like the bad guys, not Donald Trump, because Greenland would rather be a part of the United States than Denmark. Anyone would, especially in a situation like this where we're going to give them significantly more infrastructure and the ability to grow their own economy and also give them more jobs because we're going to make a major investment. Denmark can't do that. They don't have the money. They don't have the GDP. They don't have the resources to make an investment into the country that the United States does. So this all makes total sense once you think about it. And so if you are Greenland, we might have to do some type of 3-team thing, you know, the 3-team trades where the United States gives Denmark. So really, Denmark would be giving, the United States would give Denmark something. Denmark would allow Greenland to become independent. Greenland joins the United States under the idea that the United States makes a major investment into Greenland, which will happen inevitably because we're going to need to be able to extract those natural resources. So their economy will have to get better because we will have to invest into those areas and be able to build out and mine those resources. So that's really the situation that's happening here. But Trump's been clear. He says, we're going to get Greenland. You've got this article. Donald Trump says residents of Greenland want to be a part of the U.S. He's right. Absolutely. Unless you have some crazy propaganda machine happening where Greenland is getting most of their information from Europe because Europe thinks Trump's this horrible person because Trump's a threat. And this is exactly how we want Europe to think of the United States. Now you'll get this thing with these Europeans, and this is what exactly what happened with Germany. Remember when Trump warned Germany about their reliance on Russia for oil, and they laughed at him, and then what happened with Russia, Ukraine, and then there was a major shortage of oil. This is what happens. They do this thing to where it's like this cope. Trump's this big dummy. That's their cope. When in reality, they understand that Trump puts the United States first. It's not this European Union love fest with Biden and with Democrats where they have to apologize for the United States and how strong we are. Trump doesn't think like that at all. So they go into this coping mechanism where it's like, Trump's a big dummy. He's stupid. We shouldn't take him seriously. It's just one big giant cope because they hate that a leader in the United States would put the United States first, which is very dangerous for them because of how powerful the United States is. It's always got to be this, we hate ourselves. I'm white and I hate myself. I'm disgusting. We need to give Europe more things. We should not be the #1 most powerful country in the world. We should not look to expand. This isn't even a big expansion. This is just natural resources and also control of the Arctic. That's what this is. This is not, I mean, there's 50,000 people, 57,000 people on this massive island. All right, you have to put this into perspective. They wouldn't have one electoral vote based off of the population that they have. And they're not going to be a state. They're going to be a territory, which honestly is better for a lot of places. It would probably be better for Canada as well. I'm not saying the United States is going to get Canada, but people, they think, oh, being a territory is terrible. No, Puerto Rico likes being a territory. They get the best of both worlds. They get none of the taxes. That's why a lot of people move to Puerto Rico that are wealthy, and they infuse the economy in Puerto Rico with money, and they also get protection from the United States, but they don't have to deal with the taxes. Being a territory for some of these places is very advantageous, and then liberals try and manipulate polls and say, well, 56% of the people in Puerto Rico want to be a state. That was a poll that was boycotted by most of the people there because there wasn't the option to remain a territory. See, liberals really want Puerto Rico because they want 14 electoral votes and they want 2 Democrat senators and 1 Democrat governor. And they're trying to manipulate the people of Puerto Rico, and it's very sad what's happening. And this has been talked about for a while now. And that's why they had that straw poll, and it was like 56% of the people want to be want to get statehood. Why would they want statehood? What is that? I mean, it's they would rather be independent than get statehood, if anything. But that's another story for another day. Trump says residents want to be a part of U.S. Absolutely. Look at this. President tells reporter he believes U.S. will take control of island after reports of horrendous call with Denmark Prime Minister. I mean, what do you mean horrendous call? Trump just said it's going to happen. What do you want us to do? I mean, these people can either accept or they can cry, and I guess they've chosen to cry. It is what it is. You know what? They should cry when you look at what Greenland thinks of Denmark. This is not a positive opinion. That's the real problem. They try and blame the United States and say the United States is the bad guy. No. What about the people of Greenland not wanting to be part of Denmark? Maybe you didn't invest enough into Greenland? And it's just the simple thing. We've just got so much more money. We can protect them better. This makes total sense for everyone outside of Denmark. And maybe we might have to, if they really, if I was Denmark, I would cite the international law. I would say, no, this is not happening. We have historic ties to the land. And if you want this to happen, you need to give us something. And I'm guessing that's what they're going to do. But understand, they look like the villains, not the United States, because Greenland would rather be a part of the United States than Denmark, because they get more protection, they get more investments, they get better jobs, their quality of life goes up. This is not hard to understand this. Donald Trump says he believes the U.S. will take control of Greenland after details emerge of horrendous call. Trump, speaking aboard Air Force One Saturday, said, quote, "I think we're going to have it," and claimed that the Arctic island with 50,000 residents wants to be with us. I do believe Greenland will get, because it really has to do with freedom of the world. It has nothing to do with the United States other than we're the ones that can provide freedom. So, Trump is speaking to the public here, of course. Doesn't mention the natural resource aspect of it. It's smart. You want to leave that off the table because that makes the United States look a little bit worse in terms of acquiring Greenland. But this is why we're doing it for the natural resources. We're doing it to be able to, get control of the Arctic. And him saying this, that's something that Greenland could probably argue against in terms of the whole freedom aspect based off of what's happened there, to where Greenland basically can rule themselves right now. They have very loose ties to Denmark, although Denmark technically still does. They are a Danish territory. It is what it is. That's why I'm wondering, does the United States have to give Denmark something? Because it's not like Denmark is really going to want to just give up Greenland, even though these smaller countries tend to be of the opinion that, oh, if we want to be independent, you need to respect that. And so it's like the idea, okay, Greenland wants to be independent. Are you going to respect that? Well, of course not. They're hypocrites. They want money if they're going to have to give up the territory. So it is what it is. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they will be able to get independence. Greenland will be able to get independence from Denmark without the United States having to do anything like threaten Denmark with anything, although apparently Trump has already done that, which that's because, I mean, if I was Trump, I would say, listen, these people do not want to be ruled by you anymore. You need to give them up or things are going to get really bad. We're leaving NATO. If you, I wouldn't do that, but I mean, you could really threaten them, and then it would force all the other European countries to say, you need to give them up. This is not worth it. We need the United States in NATO. I'm not saying you threaten to leave NATO, but this is, I mean, because it was looking like they were like, oh, it's going to cost $1 trillion for the United States to acquire Greenland. Well, it would cost the United States a bunch of money if Greenland. Honestly, it would probably make more sense for the United States just to launch a military exercise on Greenland if the situation was Greenland wanted to be controlled by Denmark and then you launch the military. Because, yes, it would cost a lot of money. But the thing is, the people of Greenland either want to be independent or they want to be a part of the United States. They're saying they want to be independent, but they know they cannot function themselves without getting help from someone. And so they would rather have help from the world's biggest superpower. And then that's a separate negotiation between Trump and Greenland in terms of Greenland becoming a U.S. territory versus there being some type of relationship to where, worst case scenario, the United States gets military bases there, gets full military presence, and also is able to extract natural resources. But technically, Greenland is still independent, but they're basically a U.S. puppet state to a degree. Or the United States outright just acquires them in name as a U.S. territory. So that's really the situation. And now, I mean, there's just horrible phone calls. Denmark, they're finally realizing they're very likely going to have to play their hardball, and they're going to be viewed as villains in the international community. Well, no, they're not going to be, because they're the smaller country. The smaller country is always viewed as the hero, but they should be viewed as villains. Understand, if you're interpreting this correctly, Greenland does not want to be part of Denmark. Denmark is holding Greenland because they want money for them. That's selfish. That's on them. That's not on the United States. Trump came in. Yes, we want natural resources. You look at the rare earths. It's very important to extract those and control them, because right now China has monopoly over them. So we can do that because of the land in Greenland. And they're the ones that are holding Greenland. We're not doing it. Greenland would rather be a part of the United States because of everything we offer. It's a massive quality of life improvement. Every expert admits it. So they really want to be a part of the United States. and Denmark is the one holding them. The international community needs to agree that Denmark needs to give up Greenland and allow them to become independent, and then we negotiate directly with Greenland. And I think that's what should happen, and the UN should see that and understand. They've had votes, they've had public opinion polls, they've had the leaders within Greenland. Yes, they all came out, they said they don't want to be a part of the United States, but I think it's more so a hardball thing to where they're going to do a direct negotiation with the United States. You don't just tell the US we want to be a part of you. You say we want to be independent, but if you offer us a lot of stuff, you can have us as a territory, basically, if you make a huge investment into our land and to agree to defend us and everything like that. So you see how it's a negotiation. So of course they're going to come out to negotiation tactics, say we don't want to be a part of the United States. We also don't want to be a part of Denmark. They're just trying to play hardball. They want the United States to invest into the land. And so I think that's what's really happening here. So this should be something that we'll see what Denmark ends up wanting. I'm sure they'll play hardball. But if you're interpreting this correctly, because Greenland does not want to be part of Denmark, under those smaller countries and what they always say about respecting independence with smaller countries, they should allow Greenland to become independent, because Greenland says we don't want to be ruled anymore by Denmark. In the year 2025, they should respect that, but watch them demand money from the United States in order to do this and facilitate it. That's why Trump is threatening things against Denmark, because I would presume Denmark is saying, no, we're not giving them up, even though they want to be independent from Denmark. So that's probably what's happening. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Links to that's always in the description.